Today's web marketing is complex, and so you need to be doing lots of different things to stay ahead of your competition. One of them is search engine marketing, which is different than organic search engine optimization. Two totally different marketing strategies and sciences. Search engine marketing, or SEM, is also commonly referred to as PPC or pay-per-click. And the kingpin of PPC, of course, is Google AdWords. Please join me while I explore the world of SEM and the opportunities there are for lawyers and doctors with my good friend, J.K. Lloyd. So we're here to ask J.K. some questions about search engine marketing. So J.K., first let me know, what is Eruptor? Tell me a little bit about your company, Eruptor.
Well, Eruptor is a full-service online marketing firm, and by that I mean that we specifically focus on search engine marketing, advertising, social solutions, and importantly conversion solutions, really primarily using major platforms like Google AdWords, Bing, Yahoo, etc. to really target consumers at the right time in the right place with the right message as they are searching for particular terms. So if they're searching for lawyer terms, if they're searching for a DUI attorney, if they're searching for a personal injury attorney, really making sure that we're positioning the lawyers in the right place, the right time, with the right message, with specific ads that really highlight them and drive them onto a landing page where they can interact even further.
So, as the world changes, and Google is changing the world whether we like it or not. Google is making up the rules, and they are the market dominator, and so we have to follow those rules. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be changing in the next few months that will impact you guys big time, as Google does away with organic keywords. You won't even be able to see what your organic keywords are.
Right.
So working the way that we work together is going to be even more important, because tying in what you're doing on pay-per-click will feed back to organic,
right,
and vice versa.
People's first inclination when they need something is to go to Google or to go to Bing or to go to Yahoo or go to their specific platform. When they are searching for a particular product or service, if we're talking about the lawyer space, if someone has been injured in a car accident, or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, you want to find the best lawyer in the space to make sure that your loved one or yourself is being taken care of to the best of their ability. So the first inclination is to typically go to Google, for example, and our job is to make sure that we are, again, positioning those ads through a very complex bidding platform and keyword platform to make sure that we are bubbling these lawyers to the top of the search results and getting consumers and potential clients to engage. And not only that, not just using Google, but also employing all of the things that are happening that you talked about through Google, through social platforms like YouTube and Facebook, to banner ads and et cetera, and really beginning to bring a comprehensive approach using all the tools at your disposal to really get as much frequency and reach as you can to really garner as much awareness and as much throughput and as many potential clients as you can.
The effectiveness will only be as good as the landing page that you send them on.
Right.
And also, aren't you measured, isn't your pay-per-click measured by the content of the landing page? Does it match the ad? And that also drives up or down the price.
Right. No, that's a good point. So not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but yes, the content of the page is very important. Google has, we'll stick with Google for example, Google has what they call Google quality scores on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best. So the better the content is on the page, the better that our ads will be able to pick up the components on the content of the page, which means better position of the ads when people are searching on Google, which means the higher the ads will be placed when people are doing a search. So there are particular positions when someone gets Google search results. It's position 1, 2, or 3, right in the middle, or on the right-hand side, you'll see positions 4, 5, 6, or 7 is what we call it. Our objective is to always position our clients in the top 1 to 2, 3 positions, so it's within the eyesight of the user. So yeah, the content on the page is very important. The ads are very important. The keywords are very important. So it's a whole basket of components that really come together to create an effective campaign.
Like, what sets you
apart from other traditional pay-per-click companies? Like, what is what does that for you?
Well, for us, when we started the company several years ago, we wanted to take the typical agency model and flip it on its head. Not only providing premier service and customer service and those kinds of things, but really taking the model and the agency model of charging management fees or contingency fees or retainer fees or setup fees, consulting fees, those kinds of things. We eliminate all of those. So we really have a pay-for-performance model. So our objective is to maintain and drive down the cost per click of a campaign over time. So not to get too granular, but if a campaign starts off and every single time that someone engages with an ad, it may cost $10. I'll use $10 as an example. Our job is to try to drive down that cost of engagement through creating effective, working on with the effective content, effective basket of keywords, effective ads, and things like that. Google makes 90 to 98% of its revenue through ad-based revenue. That's why their stock just hit $860 a share, an all-time high, is because of what they do as a company. And so
because most of the people that are buying it are amateurs that don't know what they're doing
Right.
and spending top dollar. That's how they made all their money.
And
And
so-
lawyers are the top ones that do it, by the way.
Right, and so Google gets paid when people engage with their ads. So we want to be able to employ a strategy where we're actually getting consumers, quality consumers, to engage with these ads that are positioned in the right place, right time, with the right message for the lawyer space. And so it's very important for us from a pay-for-performance model. So again, getting back to the $10 cost per click, our objective is to be able to drive down and maintain that cost per click over time. It may start at $10, but if we can drive it down to $7, which allows us to pay Google, which is how they make their revenue, and then it allows us to pay ourselves a margin. So we strip out and remove all of these management, setup, and consulting fees. We only get paid if we actually have skin in the game with our clients. We only make revenue by actually creating campaigns that perform effectively. And so we kind of model it as we can only be as successful as our clients are successful. We can only be successful if our clients are successful, because we actually have to be really adhere to this pay-for-performance model. So it really works well.
And you have to work, just like you said, you have to work with the organic content team to make sure that works well. And so you can see the disconnect if you're working with two different companies that don't have any relationship whatsoever to holistically help you with your marketing. So if you have one company that's doing your SEO, another company that's doing your content, another company that's doing your pay-per-click for whatever reason, maybe because that's the only way that you know it should be done, you're actually doing yourself a disservice, and you're spending more money than you could be if you had it collectively together with one entity that's managing the whole thing.
And to parlay off of what Tom is saying is that we've worked on so many campaigns together that collaboratively, you're the SEO experts, and we bring the expertise from the search engine marketing and PPC side. And so on multiple campaigns and on multiple different occasions, we've worked with you to say, listen, what are the strong keywords that you're garnering from the SEO component, and then how do we parse that into using those successful keywords for the PPC and building the ads and the group of keywords and those kinds of things. So everything works conjunctively together to create a strong SEO and a strong PPC package, and brings it all together into one platform.
What are the 3 top trending things that are happening at pay-per-click today, in your opinion, JK?
Some of the things that we're seeing from a trending perspective is our ability now to layer in more conversion solutions and conversion tactics for our clients. I think the days of just running a campaign are coming to a trickle. Now it's a matter of how are you actually really beginning to show throughput in terms of results. So Foster does a great job of being able to have the phone numbers and the chat and the tracking and the chat functionality and those kinds of things. And we bring that same level on the search engine marketing side as well, in terms of trackable phone numbers where calls can be recorded, et cetera. If you've got someone that's been driven off the road into a ditch and they need a lawyer immediately, and they dial in, or they search on their mobile phone, and then they call the lawyer, and you can track and record those phone calls to determine what's the quality of those phone calls that are coming in, or the chat function, or an online, or the register, or maybe an online component where it's someone filling out a form to get advice from a lawyer immediately. So these are some things that are very, very important that are happening in the marketplace today. It's not just running a campaign, setting it and forgetting. It's really how are you leveraging some of the conversion pieces that come along with it.
That's
that
the
actually
critical
bring
part of
clients.
it, and that's a great point. And that's, I mean, unfortunately, that is a trend. It's like focusing on that, but that should be something that we should always have been
That's right.
focused on.
That's right.
You know, we have mutually worked with clients that have spent a lot of money, 20, 25 grand a month on pay-per-click, driving tons of traffic, you know, in very competitive areas, only to have somebody that answers the phone just treat that particular lead horribly.
Yes.
And just, you know, throwing away, you know, all the $50 clicks and all that stuff, just throwing them out the window. And that's not the way to do it. That is not the way to do it. It's so important that you're measuring all this. And we talk about measurement. I mean, like, that's a big piece of what we're doing.
Well, I think it's a huge piece of what we're doing. And I think it's also constantly optimizing and monitoring these campaigns, which I know your group does a great job at, and we're laser focused. This kind of goes back to our pay for performance model. We have to be in these campaigns constantly monitoring them and optimizing them to make sure that we are taking advantage of and utilizing all the tools in our tool chest to be able to make sure that we are positioning these ads appropriately while people are searching. It doesn't do the lawyer any good to be in the number 7 or 8 or number 9 position. You need to be in those top 1, 2, or 3 positions to actually get engagement and throughput, and then layering the conversion pieces on top of it. So from a trending perspective, you're right. This is what people should be thinking about for a long time, but there's a lot that needs to be done around conversion tactics for clients.
Now, let me ask you something else. Are you a lawyer?
No.
Are you a doctor?
No.
What other? I'm sure that you have some full-time job and you just do this on the side because it's so easy to do.
No. This is a very, very complex and difficult business to be in, and so that's why this type of partnership is so important from the SEO side and the SEM side.
Well, that's the point, really. Is, I mean, you and your partner and other people in your organization do this 24 hours a day, managing these search engine marketing campaigns. My entire team of 50 some odd people are doing it, and this is my question always to lawyers: aren't you supposed to be practicing law? How can you learn how to do something so complex as this? That's like me going out and doing my own very complex maritime injury case. I mean, you would laugh if you heard that I was doing that. So we chuckle when we hear about lawyers trying to run their own pay-per-click campaigns. So tell me, in your words, what retargeting is.
So retargeting is a best practice in terms of being able to really reposition your ad or your service in front of people who have previously visited your site in the past. So one of the things that we do effectively is really begin to build out retargeting lists. So if you have a certain volume of users that are coming to your website on a monthly basis, we want to be able to retarget and reposition ads for that particular lawyer across the web. So if someone is on CNN or New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or CNBC or a myriad of different sites, and by the way, we can actually get hyper-targeted in terms of what specific sites that we want to carve out, really repositioning so the ads from a retargeting perspective, because once they're quote-unquote cookied, when someone has already visited your site once before, we can retarget them across the web when they're visiting additional sites. So this is really just a great tactic to increase frequency, increase reach, increase awareness, to really begin to really target folks across the web.
I love it. I mean, words escape me, but I love being able to retarget people. But there are some things to consider when you're thinking about retargeting. First of all, you have to understand that that retargeting is part of advertising. It's part of the Google Ad Network, but other networks too. It's not just Google, but they have their own. And so what happens is that these other websites, and I'm taking a little of your thunder, but these other websites buy into, like CNN and CNBC, buy the Google ad platform. And so guys like Eruptor bid on these placements. It's no different than, you know, like a call for advertising for a magazine or whatever. And so the more that you're able to get them, the more that you're able to bid in those spots, you'll show up. So there's also ways, as you said, you can control what sites you want to be on. You can also control what locations that you want to be on, right? So you can say, well, I don't want anybody from, if your business is all right here in Fairfax, Virginia, then you don't need to be serving ads to the entire planet.
That's right.
And that also goes to, see, other pay-per-click companies that just get paid a management fee, that's all they care about is getting paid the management fee.
That's right.
So they don't really care about, I mean, they're going to burn and churn people, but the way that we work together, it's based on performance. So we're constantly talking and measuring and analyzing how to do this better, which is, as you know, a big thing about what we do.
Well, and it's also a cost-effective way to retargeting is extremely, extremely cost-effective in terms of branding and getting that message out. As we talked about before, it's constant optimization and constant monitoring. And I think the thing that's important to note here and to really glean from this conversation is that you really do have to employ all of these tactics that we talked about. The strong search engine optimization and SEO piece from your group really only helps to build a target audience who is visiting the site. A jump start program and a quick start program through search engine marketing advertising, which really begins to drive the volume and quick visitors into the site, which leads to being that once you have the volume of visitors through SEO and through SEM, then you can really begin to build a strong retargeting list. So all of these pieces of the puzzle really work collaboratively together. It's not just one piece over here and another piece over here and offshoots, and to your point, relationships at several different vendors. It's really bringing a cohesive solution with all of these components in the tool chest through SEO, through SEM, through retargeting, and then taking advantage of all the other components around banner and social and the conversion solutions that we talked about that really move the needle in terms of everybody is trying to garner more clients. That's the end game, right? That's the golden egg. So how do we really employ all of those pieces of the puzzle through what your organization does and what our organization does and really bring a strong solution set that really delivers results?
Okay, so tell me, JK, you've been doing this for a while, and we've shared some of our own stories, but tell me how people mess this up. Tell me just some of the ways.
Well, I think some of the ways that folks mess it up is really trying to do it all themselves. You alluded earlier that it would be like you trying to take on a maritime course or a maritime case. I would never be able to get into a doctor's office and perform surgery or give medical advice to someone, or I would never be able to try a case, and et cetera. And so one of the biggest inherent challenges is people trying to take on all of this work themselves, trying to do all the SEO and the SEM work themselves. And it's a very, very difficult task. There's a lot of moving parts that really create a successful program. There's a lot of bidding technologies and keyword components and all of these things that go in to a successful program. So one of the components is people just get themselves in a mindset, and let's just stick to search engine marketing. People will get themselves in a mindset to say, well, listen, if lawyer John Doe down the street is bidding $50, well, I'm going to bid $60 per key term. And next thing you know, it becomes a bidding war. And if you have an internal budget, you've blown through your budget all of a sudden, and you don't even know whether you're getting quality clicks or whether or not. You're just really paying attention on outbidding the guy that's down the street. And then it becomes a bidding war.
Google loves you for that.
And Google loves you for that. Doesn't mean that the money is being spent effectively, but Google is getting paid, to your point, every single time that someone engages. So that's one of the biggest inherent challenges, is that trying to drink from a fire hose, trying to do it all yourself. Everybody needs to have professionals in their lives to help them through the programs. And so that's why your company exists. That's why my company exists.
We know what we're doing. Okay, so what else? I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, the world of search, the world of web marketing, we've been involved. I've been doing this for 12 years. Yeah. How long are you? About the same?
About 10 years, yeah.
Yeah. And how often has it changed in our?
Well, I think as you're saying is that the world of web exposure and web advertising is only going to continue to grow. Just through search and display, I believe by 2016 it's going to be a $36 billion business. And so everybody knows that Google's not going anywhere. Everybody knows that search engine optimization and search engine marketing aren't going anywhere. People are moving in droves online to find their solutions to what they are looking for. Billboard is not measurable. Print is not measurable. Direct mail sometimes is not measurable. So really by really employing tactical solutions that are measurable, where we can actually track people through the entire clients and potential clients all the way through the acquisition funnel, from the time that they've engaged through SEO, through the time that they've engaged through SEM, through the time that they've engaged through social solutions or retargeting, really be able to deliver measurable results. And so the days of people spending $20,000, $30,000 a month on billboard are dwindling because there's no ROI out of that. And so really being able to move into an online presence and having a strong online presence with a conversion solution is really what we really want to try to accomplish and help lawyers achieve.
Driving them all to their website, that's how you measure it. Even if you're doing all this offline stuff, being able to provide tracking numbers and different URLs or whatever to provide that measurement to know, does that billboard actually give you, $10,000 worth of ROI a month?
Right.
You'd be surprised. Most of you are still in the dark. And that's what we're trying to do, is show you where you can make more money, where you can be more profitable, where you can spend less money. But you can only do that if you're working with coaches that are going to provide that information.
And importantly, more cost effective. Yeah. Right? Your programs are more cost effective and our programs are more cost effective, not only from a competition standpoint, because there's naturally other SEO companies and other SEM companies that are out there, but our objective is to provide a cost-effective solution for lawyers and not burn through budgets and those kinds of things. Billboards, for example, just to go back to that, people can spend $10,000, $15,000 a month, and all it's getting is just eyeballs. It's just getting traffic that drives by. It doesn't get any conversion piece. So I thought it was important to point out the cost effectiveness of our programs.
All right, well, JK, that's all the time we got, buddy. But thank you for stopping by the studio.
Of course.
And if there's any clients of ours or anybody that wants to work with JK Lloyd and Kevin Manelli of Eruptor, eruptor.com, or you can just work with us and we set it all up. JK, good to see you, buddy. Thank you so much.